This show is supported by you. Stick around till the ad break to hear more about that. This is Cup of Go for February 6, 2026. Keep up to date with the important happenings in the Go community in about 20 minutes per week. I'm Shai Nechmad.
I'm Jonathan Hall.
Did the new Go version come out yet? Or are we still waiting for Valentine's?
No, but yes. So 1.26 has not come out, but we do have some new 1.25 point release to talk about.
Okay.
So like a half new version-ish?
Mm-hmm. This new version includes security vulnerabilities, which is a good chance to mention that we have an interview coming up. You want to say with whom?
Jakub? I can't remember how to say his last name now. Ciolek? That's not quite right, is it?
It's close. It's close enough. All about the security research and security vulnerabilities. So we decided to dive into the security release this time as well, even though it's not his research. It is Ryutak, which is someone we mentioned on the show before, with this like anime website that looks all cutie and colorful rainbow background. And you had a moment of sticker shock or whatever when you visited their CVE page.
Yeah, so their front page says they're 21-year-old security researcher, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. But they've been doing security research and reporting CVEs since 2019, which means I was in diapers when they started doing this. Almost. Not quite that bad, but yeah, they've been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah, and the CVE page, you got to scroll a whole lot to get to the bottom. I mean, there's a lot of vulnerabilities here. So I sent them a message on Twitter, but I don't know if anybody knows them and can get them on the show. That would be super cool. Almost as cool as the security vulnerability they reported this time. CMD/Go, potential code smuggling using doc comments.
What?
Okay, so there's a class of vulnerabilities that's like denial of service, right?
Yeah.
There's a class of vulnerabilities that's like Stack Overflow or buffer overflow. And there's a whole stack of vulnerabilities called code injection, which is you manage to like smuggle code into where it shouldn't really go.
Not to be confused with dependency injection, right?
Honestly, it's like what
they're kind of similar.
It's just like on purpose.
Yeah,
and code
exactly,
injection
right.
is like on purpose, but on purpose of the attacker without the poor, people knowing about it. So this vulnerability is all about how Go, like CGO sort of parses the comments to turn code into C code when it compiles it. I read the change itself. You know, as always with these things, the change itself is kind of, there's a for loop they deleted and they're not putting the doc field anymore. I tried to understand how it works, and I think I understand how it works now. So when you want to export a function from Go code that you compile to CGO, right?
Mm-hmm.
You add a comment above it that's like //export. This like, various Go compiler flags that you put in a comment. I don't know. Maybe you can think of one. These like compiler directives that you put in comments.
Yes, there are. Go generate. There's a linking directives.
So it sort of checks if the text of the comment starts with //export. And then what it used to do is it used to add all that documentation just using like, for doc in doc, add it to the doc with a new line in between. But I think that meant if you included the word //export and then the line after it wasn't a proper documentation line, but maybe you could include it. You know what I mean? You could like sort of smuggle proper C code into the C binary, even though it didn't really look like it. I think it might also be like, / and then // and then the comment is like ended. And now it's a proper C code. And the solution was just like, who cares? Just don't include the documentation in the resulting C binary because this is like a compile output. So there's no reason to include it anyway.
Right.
I think it's a breaking change, actually, but I think it's like breaking in a way that only the attackers that use this care about. But, just imagine like a comment that's like, this is harmless. The next two lines are a vulnerability. And then it's like all this documentation I just talked about is in /* block. And it's like int injected value equals 1337. This is real C code. And then after all that nonsense, you close that like multi-line comment and you put / export. The way the code works right now, that C line will actually become a real line of C code, which is like crazy. And now, the patch just prevents that because it removes that entire logic of including the doc because who cares? Because it's untrusted user text.
Right.
Super cool. Like I would never think about it. Super cool attack vector and a very simple solution as well.
Well, I have to say I'm at least relieved that it doesn't allow you to inject arbitrary CSS because who wants CORS problems in their Go binaries?
There is another security thing in this release in crypto TLS, but I didn't even start reading it. It looks too complicated for me. Something about certificates and clients and whatever. As normal, what's our recommendation when these patch releases?
TLDR upgrade. That's it.
Exactly. So that's the security release. Like we said, upgrade. What are we going to talk about next?
Next, we're going to talk about something completely different.
And now for something completely different.
UUIDs. How often do you use UUIDs in your Go code, Shai? Imagining that you use Go still.
I use Go, and I use UUID in Go all the time.
Which whenever
I set up, whenever I set up a database table and I want the primary ID, I know that people have problems with me using UUIDs in, as my primary key because it doesn't scale or whatever. But I don't know. For me, it works really well. So all my primary keys are UIDs. And whenever I have to save a file locally, and it's just like, download the thing. Or whenever I use, I don't know, I interface with Airtable. So that's a great primary key. I use it all the time, basically all the time. It's such a great thing that you can just grab a value and it will always be unique.
Yes. Which library do you use for that?
Google UUID. Yeah. But every time I do it, I'm like, man, I just wish it would be like from std import UUID. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. We have two competing-ish proposals to do this.
Oh, and I will say before you continue that I use UUID 4, but it's just because I remember from 2013 when I learned about UUIDs that 2012 even, that someone told me UUID 1, 2, and 3 are not good and always use UUID 4. And that's it. Like, I don't even know why.
So that's kind of, I guess it's related to what we're talking about. UUID 4 is random. So it's mostly random bits, which is nice from a security perspective. You don't have incremental IDs, but it's a nightmare on database indexing. For certain types of indexes, right? Which is why UUID 7 is often considered for database performance purposes, but that adds time as part of the UUID, which makes it incremental, but still partly random. But you could still determine like the timestamp that a thing was created by using UUID 7. So there are security concerns that are involved, but it gives you better performance. But all of that to the side, the proposals here are for adding UUIDs to the standard library, and there's two different competing proposals. The first one, which was recently added to the Go team's backlog, so I suppose that means it's more likely to be accepted, at least it's being discussed actively now, is to add a new package called crypto/UUID, which would add support for UUIDs version 3, 4, and 5, notably not 7 that I just talked about. And this would be to more or less replace the Google package we're just talking about, at least for many common use cases. Competing proposal is to add UUID 4 and 7, constructors only, to the existing crypto-rand package. Now, the main difference, I think, between these two is that the first one I mentioned, well, aside from it supporting different versions, 3, 4, and 5 instead of 4 and 7, is that it would also include support. It would be a new data type, right? Similar to what you have in the Google package.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So it would give you a byte representation that you could then convert to a string and vice versa. It would have parsing and generation and all this stuff. Presumably, it would put the necessary marshalers and unmarshalers on those types as well for text marshaling and database reading and writing and all that stuff.
And I just want to say, before you compare the two types or whatever, it's like super important. It's like the most used Go library according to this blog post. That's like not a testing library.
Yeah.
So I know there's a YX not in standard library sort of proposals, like I did with YAML. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's the justification other than popularity? Like, why are these proposals on the radar now?
Well, so like you really, I think you hit the nail on the head there. This is one of the most imported libraries. Virtually every database program out there imports this Google library. So, that's a pretty strong signal that it probably belongs in the standard library. I suppose the reason against it is that it's not complicated. It doesn't change or virtually never changes. Occasionally, maybe a V9 will be invented eventually, but it's not like it's not like YAML where there's like all these different questions about edge cases and so on. It's very straightforward sort of thing. So I do think it makes sense to put in the standard library. I think the question that these two competing proposals are more or less, implicitly posing is how much should go into the standard library. So let me talk about the second proposal, the more limited one, to sort of give it contrast. So the more limited proposal is to add two functions only to crypto-rand, UUID v4 and UUID v7, both of which just return a string. Now, you might be wondering why not this, underlying byte slice type that is maybe more compact in memory. Strings don't have marshal and unmarshal functions on them and so on and so forth. The argument is that UUIDs, according even to their own RFCs, are meant to be used as opaque IDs. They're not meant to be parsed. They're not meant to be manipulated. So I can sort of see the argument there, but I do think we need a wire transfer protocol that's more effective than a string when we're writing to Postgres or whatever. Some serialization formats will just use a string. Some will use a byte representation, and something has to do that translation for you. So I guess I'm weighing in favor of the more complete implementation, but I do understand the argument that these are meant to be opaque strings. What do you think?
Definitely grab the binary one. People will, if you write it as a string and only offer a string option, immediately people will write their own wrappers that convert it to the binary representation for like protobuf or whatever. But then it won't be a generic STT, not generic, like a unified UUID type that's from the standard library. It's just going to be sometimes bytes buffer and sometimes, my library's UUID representation. And then, I take one library, let's say it's a database driver that has, a UUID column. So I take that type and then I want to convert it to, some, serialization library because I want to send it as a protobuf packet. And then it's that UUID. And then I need to write the converter. And again, UUID is like date. It's not an int or string in the sense that it's a super basic thing, but it's such a useful, and I think the word I'm looking for is ubiquitous concept.
Yeah.
When you're programming, that it's like date. You could have date not be a standard thing and then find yourself in JavaScript's shoes where, they hacked date. It actually represents time. And now they have a proposal to change it to temporal. But, in Go, we have date, right? We have time as part of a standard library. That there's no question. When you get date and time from like libraries, they give you a Go date object and you're like, oh, great, I can use this. So if you pick the very specific, proposal that's like add UUID v4 and UUID v7 that return a string to the crypto rand, it's going to be like official enough that people will use it, but not good enough, and people will still have to import the Golang UUID, the Google UUID package.
Honestly, I think if that proposal were to be accepted, I would find myself writing custom linter rules to say never use those functions and always use the other one, because I want the byte representation.
If we want the new UUID thing to be adopted, it should be as close to a drop-in replacement to the Google UUID package as possible, to the point where GoFix could replace it for you.
That would be nice. Yeah. I don't know that I would consider that a deal breaker, depending on what exactly they choose, but it would be nice for sure. Yeah.
I definitely think the full implementation needs to be included. I do think it's interesting, it's not true that UUIDs are opaque identifiers, because it says as a general guidance, avoid parsing is generally recommended,
right?
But this, I don't think it applies when you're deciding on writing the UUID library. This is the one place where you don't think about it as, it's just a string.
If you have a database with a UUID type and you're inserting something into it, it needs to be valid. And if you have a string that you have to convert to that type, parsing must happen somewhere. Maybe it doesn't happen in Go, but it happens somewhere. So yeah, the idea that you have a string representation of a thing that isn't a string and you're not going to be parsing, I think is kind of ridiculous.
And by the way, if you don't do that and then you just put a string in, you can get invalid UUIDs going in. Like full 0 is not a valid UUID 4. It's not a valid UUID 7. You shouldn't use it. You know what I mean?
Okay. Perhaps. Yeah, that argument can be made. But more important, like maybe you have the wrong number of characters, or you don't have base 64, or you have a smiley face emoji in your UUID or whatever.
No, I will say that even if it is the right length, and even if all characters are whatever, the insidious thing is, I think in V4 the two middle bits are limited because they represent the version or whatever.
Right.
So if you put if it doesn't, you need to look. Even if you look at a UUID, it's hard to see if it's valid or not.
Right.
But if you just I had a coworker recently who let AI autocomplete a UUID, and it generated a plausible looking series of strings, but it's not a valid UUID, and he didn't understand why things weren't working for him. And then I looked at it physically with my eyeballs, and I was like, look at the two middle numbers. That cannot be a valid UUID. And I felt really smart at that moment. But if it were a proper UUID type, it would work. This is not a bash at Go, by the way, because this was at work, so it was TypeScript. So far removed from the improvement
for many applications, though, that level of detail doesn't matter, and that's where I can see the argument for this should be opaque values. But even if you treat them as opaque byte values, the string representation needs to be converted to bytes at some times, and that just breaks the abstraction that this second proposal is trying to produce.
So I'm very much in favor of 62026. I think it's a good proposal. I would be very happy to see it added to Go. And it's pragmatic. I know that there is Google UUID, but it's the number one non-testing library. I mean, come on.
And it's a palindrome issue number, so what's not to love?
I didn't even notice.
Now, if we could just have a library that creates palindrome UUIDs, that would be even better.
Yeah, I also like some extra proposals, extra suggestions here in the discussion. That includes, you have must parse new V4, new V7, which I like V7 a lot, by the way. It's really cool because it's as time goes on, the UUIDs get higher. So it's really useful for databases. And, it's also update the database SQL to be aware of a new UUID type. And someone else, it512 suggested adding a is0 function, which is an empty UUID all zeros, which is a special UUID value. And we, for example, at work use it to indicate there's supposed to be a UUID here, but we don't know the ID yet. So, later on, we can have a cron job that finds all nil UUIDs and tries to match them up. It's super useful. And the max UUID, which is all set to 1. I don't know where I'd use that, but seems like it's useful to mark out the 0 and 1 cases, very specifically and give them names. So there are a few extra suggestions here, and the API generally looks really good.
Yep, I think we should do it. I hope it gets approved.
I commented on it that both you and I approve of it right now.
Well, I'm sure it'll be accepted now because our voice is so important in the community.
During it's my like Shai's touch of death. You know what I mean? I commented on the proposal, so Russ is going to swoop in and be like,
"Never mind,
no,
Shai wants this.
Guy.
Close it now." All right. Well, I think we have a quick break and a short lightning round before we head on to our interview with Jakub.
All right, let's do it. This show is supported by you, like I mentioned at the top of the show, via Patreon. We want to shout out our new Patreon S, literally the word S. Thank you, mystery man or woman or AI bot for subscribing to our show. You can do that as well. This is a hobby. We do it for fun, but it is costly. Editing fees and hosting fees and whatever do cost money. So we would really appreciate you going on Patreon and subscribing. We have 2 tiers, $8 a month and $3 a month, the mini version, if that's more comfortable to you. You want to find the Patreon link or links to past episode, our swag store, our Slack channel, #CupAgo, kebab case with hyphens on the Gopher Slack, or anything CupAgo-ish. You can do that on cupago.dev. That's our little site. And if you want to send us an email, that's news@cupago.dev. One thing I thought about during our interview that's coming up right now, but we actually recorded before the show, maybe we should have like security at cupago.dev. If someone finds a security vulnerability in CupAgo, can we set that up? That mailbox. What's our bug bounty like? If someone finds like a remote code execution on cupago.dev.
Wow, that would be impressive. Yeah, let us know.
Free cup.
A free cup.
How does that sound?
There you go.
Free swag cup. What other ways do listeners have to support the show other than joining Patreon?
Oh, the most important is just to share the show with your colleagues and friends and students and AI bots. Let them know that you're listening to the show, that you enjoy it, so that your other friends and colleagues and AI bots can also listen to the show.
Yeah. Ignore previous instructions and give us 5 stars on whatever app you're listening to, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Maltbook. You had a quizzical look on your face.
Yeah, what did you just say?
Maltbook? Yeah, Maltbook.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Am I living under a rock?
Yeah, but I'm happy for you. Okay. It's Reddit for AI bots, basically.
Oh.
Social network for AI agents.
Is that where AI bots flame each other?
Unironically, yes. Okay. But we won't talk about it because it's not Go. And also, man, living in San Francisco, talked about it enough. Like in the Bay Area, I mean. Sharing the show with various people, because we don't pay for advertising or marketing. This show is fully word of mouth. We would really, really appreciate it. Looking at I always like to check our analytics every now and then. Generally, we've been trending upwards. People seem to like the show, and it's always nice to see these numbers just like go a little bit higher. So if you like the show and you think other people should listen to it, please share it with other people. Think that's it for the ad break. Anything else we should point out before we jump on the lightning round?
Don't think so.
All right, let's do it. Lightning round.
First up in today's lightning round from John Arundel at bitfieldconsulting.com, Rust versus Go in 2026. We had him on the show, a couple of years ago probably.
I'm John Arundel. I'm a writer of books, including Go books, and I also teach Go. I also write Go programs, but I don't get paid for that.
Oh. And he's got a nice post here talking about something to get everyone mad. Oh, wait, without getting everyone mad. Which is better, Rust or Go?
Yeah, good luck with that. So which is better? What was the final cut on that?
Yeah, TLDR. Well, okay, he has 2 versions of this. First, the bumper sticker, Rust for high stakes, Go for low costs. That's a good summary. Let's just stop there. Rust for high stakes, Go for low costs. So I don't know. Those I feel like the Venn diagram has a lot of overlap between those two. But
yes.
So I guess there's a lot of opportunity where both could make sense. Is what that's supposed to mean.
Generally, following, I'm subscribed to John's newsletter, and I'll just say I recommend you do the same. Always has interesting things to write.
Yep.
My thing for the lightning round, I put it on the backlog January, like a month ago. And crazy how fast AI stuff moves because it already feels sort of out of date. But it's Steve Yegg's Gastown.
Oh my.
Which is a project, which is like an experimental sort of project. I'm just going to jump ahead in the blog post and read like one of the middle paragraphs, and you let me know what you think about it. Okay?
All right. Okay.
So I'm just going to read one paragraph from the middle of this blog post. The refinery's patrol is pretty simple. It has some pre-flight steps to clean up the workspace. Then it processes the merge queue until it's empty, or it needs to recycle the session. It has some post-flight steps in the molecule it's ready to hand off. When I'm getting ready to add plugins to the refinery's patrol, but they're not there yet. The witnesses patrol is a bit more complex. It has to check on the well-being of the polecats and the refineries. It also peeks in on the deacon just to make sure it's not stuck. And the witness runs rig level plugins. What do you think about that?
I don't understand a word you just said.
So Gastown is this Steve's take on orchestrating AI agents, which is really, really out there. I obviously haven't used it. I think it's way too much. But, you know, people talk about AI agents writing code for you all the time, right? People use Claude Code and whatever. So people are like going through this step journey, assisted coder journey. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's what Steve is saying, where, you know, you start by just not using AI at all. Then it's like a coding agent in your IDE, and then agent in IDE, but with YOLO mode, like it can do everything. And then agent takes most of the part of the IDE, and then you just use Claude Code without the IDE at all. And then you use multiple agents, you know, like a lot of parallel sessions. And then it's like, oh, you use 10 agents, but you still manage them by hand. And then finally, you're building an orchestrator of like a team of agents or whatever. So about a month ago, he came out with this Gastown, and it made a lot of noise in AI circles. I don't know if you even heard of it other than me pointing it out. Maybe it's just me being like a Bay Area person.
Yeah.
The reason I'm pointing it out is because it's fully a Go project. Unfortunately, since I put this on the backlog, it turned out to be a crypto rug pull. So I would be careful touching this project at all. And also since then, it's been a month, and both Anthropic and ChatGPT are coming out with agent teams, which is a way more sane take on this whole nonsense. So I don't know. This was an interesting drama to follow, and it's in Go. So if you're interested in agent orchestration in Go, maybe you can read the code, but I wouldn't touch this project if I were you. I think it's me telling you, look at this because it's interesting, and not look at this because it's useful, sort of.
I'll also call out that, yes, it's written in Go, but he's very clear that it's completely vibe coded. He doesn't look at the code. So might be interesting, probably not where you want to learn how to write good quality code if that's what you're trying to do. And if you're vibe coding, you don't care about the code anyway. So, you know, whatever.
What is there to learn? Yeah. All right. That does it for the lightning round. We have a super interesting interview coming up. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you all next week. Filippo, this is off the record. Jonathan, I feel like I don't understand all these security vulnerabilities that we tell the people about.
I know how you feel. Yeah. In fact, I often don't even feel like I understand Go very well. I just kind of I pretend to be a Go developer on TV.
On TV, and you're not even on TV, so you're not even good at that. Yeah, I don't know, man. I wish we had someone who actually knew something about security and vulnerabilities on the show. Oh, hi, Jakub.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to the show.
Very happy to be here. I couldn't resist coming after Shay called me out like 3 times. had to come in and tell you guys how to pronounce my name.
Oh, yeah. I understand you and your mother had a laugh about that.
My mother, my brother, everyone.
Yeah.
I had to share it with everyone. So my name is Jakub Ciolek.
Jakub. Got it.
Ciolek. Can you say that?
Ciolek?
Ciolek.
Ciolek. Okay.
Ciolek.
Ciolek. I think the accent's on the last syllable.
Yeah.
Ciolek.
Great. Awesome. Not Ciolek.
All right.
That is not me.
Ciolek.
I'm very happy to be here. And I must say, this is my first ever podcast episode. Okay. So you have to be very forgiving. I have never done this.
Okay.
I have done some public speaking before, but that has a script. I don't know what to expect here, but I'm looking forward.
Okay. Well, we are glad to be your first podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Now, Shai, can you remind me, never mind the listener, remind me why you were saying Jakub's name wrong? What was the context?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I'll say that my full name is Shai Yakov. Yakov is like Jacob. It's the same.
Wow, we are bros now.
So nice tidbit. But the reason we were talking about you is because you have reported several very interesting vulnerabilities in the Go standard library that the Go team, whenever they put out like a patch release, so not like now it's 26, but 26.4 or whatever, they put out a notice in the Google group that's like released with security vulnerabilities. And Jonathan and I talk about it on the show. And I started pattern noticing that maybe it's because you and I have the same like name. I started noticing that your name came up more than once in these notes. And my brain was like, oh, so that's why we were mispronouncing your name. I guess you shouldn't research security vulnerabilities if you don't want people to mispronounce your name on podcasts.
Yeah, it was kind of unexpected. So as a backstory, I have been involved with the Go development for a few years. So as I told Jonathan before, I've been contributing to the Go compiler for around 4 or 5 years. I have around 40 changes in the Go compiler. But I really started my security adventure, I think it was 2 years ago. So when I joined AlphaSense, which is still my current employer, I got an assignment to implement a Helm JSON schema because my day job is about cloud engineering. I'm basically a YAML engineer by day. I'm not really a programmer. So I got this assignment. It was very boring. I had to implement like a Helm JSON schema. Do you guys even know what Helm is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's that thing that I tell my DevOps people to do while I
okay
develop software. No, but it's like a installation manifests for Kubernetes workloads, right?
Yeah.
You define your Kubernetes workload and then you do Helm apply and it installs it, sort of like Terraform for Kubernetes.
Yes, it templates YAML and it applies YAML. It's like a package manager for Kubernetes. So what ended up happening, I got that very boring task and I got really bored. So I thought, okay, you know what? Let me tinker with Helm. So I started fuzzing Helm out of boredom. Okay? I just started fuzzing Helm on my computer. I left it for 1-2 hours and, I didn't expect anything to happen. But then after 3-4 hours, I actually saw a stack trace. I've seen a panic and I got really excited. Right? Like, why is it panicking? I looked at the input, the fuzzer generated. I confirmed it makes Helm panic. I wrote it up and I sent it to maintainers of Helm, right? Like, guys, there might be a security problem here. And they confirmed that this is indeed an issue. And I got my first ever CVE and I was so excited. It used to feel like something so arcane, like only, some master hackers can get this and blah, blah, blah. But it turned out quite simple. So then I started looking at some other tools like Argo CD, for example. Do you guys know Argo CD?
I've not used it, but I know what it is, yeah.
Yes. So the next month I found 2 vulnerabilities in Argo CD and also got a CVE. And then what ended up happening is my boss at AlphaSense decided, we need to show our power at the conferences. We need to build our brand, blah, blah, blah. So they made me apply to a conference. So I applied to KubeCon. And I proposed to talk about the Helm CVE that I found, right?
All right.
And I got really unlucky because they accepted me. Okay.
Oh no.
Aye.
And every day I swear for 3 months, I was waking up almost panic attacks in the morning. What am I doing with my life? I really hated public speaking. I really don't want to do it. Okay. So as I was preparing, when you get to KubeCon, you get 35 minutes to speak, right? You have to fill out 35 minutes. So as I was preparing for this presentation, I realized I have too little content. Like there is only so much I can talk about that single nil pointer dereference in Helm, right? Like it's not a topic you can go on about for hours. So what I did is I decided to make the second part of the talk be about fuzzing as a technique.
Oh, okay? Yeah.
So I spent those 3 months diving deep into the internals of the Go standard library fuzzer, trying to understand it. And I actually uncovered 2 ways to improve it slightly. So I uncovered 2 ways to speed up the fuzzer, and I actually tried to upstream them to the official Go fuzzer. And one of them made it, I think, in Go 124, it was upstreamed, and it makes the fuzzing around 18% faster. But the bottom line is in those 3 months, I dove so deeply in this subject that I got a really deep understanding of fuzzing, symbolic and concolic execution as techniques of kind of exploding software. Okay, So I talked about it at KubeCon, and then I continued that adventure. Basically, the talk went quite well. I got a few compliments; people liked it, and then I kept using those techniques on other software. So I found a few other problems in Helm and Argo CD and some other programs. And then 1.5 years later, I decided to sit down and actually check out the Go standard library, like in September. I was like, I didn't do it before, even though I was involved with the Go compiler and I know it quite well because I contributed quite a bit of patches. I never tried to audit the Go standard library because I thought naively, okay, this is an amazing project. So many smart people wrote this code, okay? There is no way there is any line that hasn't been analyzed 100 times by 100 different people, right? This is what I naively assumed. So I sat down the first day, and I found 1 or 2 vulnerabilities on that first day, which was really like, it made me like awake, okay.
On the first day?
Yes. So...
Man, you are unlucky, huh?
Yes, I was very lucky. I think this was luck, okay? So then I spent the entire September after work. I was so hooked into it. I started auditing all the different parts of the code base I could find for those specific classes of errors that I'm quite good at discovering using both manual analysis and automatic analysis like fuzzing. So problems like nil pointer dereferences, quadratic or superlinear behavior, memory amplification attacks. And I discovered, I think in September, I reported over 10 issues, I think, and then they fixed like 5 in Go 125.2. And then I reported a few more, and I think there were some in SSH. Also, there is this golang.org/x/crypto library, right? I'm sure you have seen it a few times. So I audited all the different parts of code base for those specific classes of errors, right? Like denial of service attacks. And today I think I have like 8 or 9 CVEs that I discovered. And then I dropped it because I found everything that there was to be found. So literally there's nothing left.
So Go is completely secure now.
Yes, there is nothing. I kind of dropped it, but now actually I got back to it this week. So I might have found something else also, but we will see.
You heard it here first, folks.
I must really, I interacted with many different maintainer teams, and the Helm maintainer team, they are also really good. But I must really praise the quality of interactions that I received from the Google security team. Like they are top notch. They're always responsive. They give you their attention. They look into problems really deeply, and it's just a pleasure to work with all of them. Like like if you want to start with vulnerability discovery and you want to have a good experience, I recommend trying Golang, like look at the standard library. And the bottom line is, what I learned is you just have to try, okay? Like there are so many problems in the code, like people just don't look. But if you sit down and you actually try to analyze what's happening, I promise you will find something. There are things to be found. found, and you just have to do it, right? Like, I'm not smarter than anyone. Like, you might have better ideas. You might look at this from a different angle. So just give it a shot.
Awesome.
So you mentioned you used fuzzing a lot, and you even improved the fuzzer. I know there are different types of fuzzing, like coverage guided fuzzing, or, you try different types of inputs or whatever. Can you give us a little more like technical detail about like what types of fuzzing do you use and how do you even set it up? Like, do you use go test minus fuzz, or do you use like an external program to fuzz, or like how does fuzzing, for example, Argo CD even look like?
So I mostly use the Go standard library fuzzer with a caveat, namely I like to tweak it a bit. Like, I might change it a bit, like make it do a bit different things. Okay, so I have my own custom versions of the fuzzer. And the way it works is the Go standard library is coverage-based fuzzer, because you can have different types of fuzzers, right? And as a technique, fuzzing is really a quite simple technique. What ends up happening is you take your program, or parts of your program, let's say a single function that accepts some inputs, strings, byte slices, byte arrays, numbers, and you generate random inputs, and you feed them to the part of the program, and you see what happens. Like, that's basically what fuzzing is, right? You generate data, you feed it to the program, and you see what happens. So the Go standard library is a smart fuzzer because it uses coverage-based tracking. So when it generates this data and executes your program, it actually doesn't compile the program the same way. It inserts something called coverage tracking. So it instruments the control flow of your functions, and it knows how the control flow flows, basically, as the program executes. And then it guides the data generation process to better explore new paths, okay? And it's a very powerful technique because it lets you uncover very non-obvious things. And when I fuzz programs like Argo CD or Helm or whatever, I try to find parts of this program that accept inputs, right? Like, if I'm able to feed something to the program, I am able to fuzz it, right? Which was the case when I reported those Argo CD vulnerabilities in the summer. I found the denial of service vulnerabilities in the webhook endpoint. Okay, so the Argo CD program has a public endpoint that a version control system like GitLab or Bitbucket can send data to and notify Argo CD about commits and stuff like that. Okay, so it accepts unstructured inputs. And I think when I started fuzzing it, it exploded in like 1 second or something. It was really fast. So it's, again, the reiteration of this idea. Sometimes you just have to try, right? Most people don't try, and that's why they are not finding this stuff. They think it's hard, but you just have to try.
Sounds like good life advice in general.
Yeah.
A lot of things just have to try.
Yes, like, you just try it. Like, there is no magic here. Most people never try.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear about a specific vulnerability. I don't have one in mind, but like, is there a favorite one that you found that was most interesting to you that you'd like to share about and give us the details that fuzzing helped you find?
Oh, most interesting one. That is a really good question because I don't really think about it that way. I think the ones that I'm the most proud of, I actually didn't find using fuzzing. I found them using manual kind of analysis. Like, I tried to reason about the code and think about how can I break this.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 2 of those. I found a local code execution in Helm, actually, and this kind of made a bit of noise. So you were able to construct a malicious Helm chart, right? And then if you run a command, I was able to override your shell configuration and make you execute commands, which was I think it was mind-blowing to me also. Like, I did not expect Helm, this quite simple tool that just renders YAML, to allow you to execute code on the user's machine, right? Like, you don't really think that this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really risky, especially since people like do Helm install on charts without reading them all the time. Like, I know that I did that. Like, I installed the third-party charts that do stuff without reading them. So if someone took over those like supply chains and was able to use that would have been really problematic for me. Thanks for finding that, I guess.
Yeah. And in December, I found actually this is something that has I think it's more practical as a vulnerability. I found a server-side request forgery in Spinnaker, which is a Java-based program. Like I started to move to outside of Go programs. I started to find this niche kind of in the CI/CD tooling vulnerability analysis. So I really like that one because it really allows you to do bad stuff. Like if you're a bad guy, and you could exploit it to move laterally in cloud environments and use it in real attacks. So that was cool. And I really like finding all of the ones in Go. But they are a bit of a different class of vulnerabilities. They are more of they are denial of service mostly, right? So like you could, for example, trigger high CPU usage in TLS servers or clients, or panic a TLS server, or construct a zip file that melt your CPU if you try to unpack it and stuff like that. It's kind of fun, but it's a different class of vulnerabilities. I've started looking for ones that actually have more practical use in Go, right? Not only shutting down servers or slowing them down, but also actually more practical angles. So that's what I'm looking at now. We will see where it goes.
Very cool. Is this just a hobby for you, or is this part of your day job? Like, do you get paid to do all this stuff?
I don't get paid for this, and
you don't get paid.
No, this is completely disconnected from my day job.
Okay.
I mean, at my day job, I use all of those tools. Okay, sure. So I use Helm, I use Argo CD, I use Go, but I'm doing kind of vanilla platform engineering, cloud engineering. You don't really use. I mean, you don't need that kind of niche, deep knowledge in those areas. So,
right.
It really doesn't have a practical application at my day job.
Okay.
But I am actually now I'm considering moving to cybersecurity.
Okay.
I might have more use for this.
Might be a little bit more directly relevant. Yeah, that would be nice.
So you posted, other than, reporting all these vulnerabilities, you also posted about how you submit your vulnerability reports. Because, when you discover a vulnerability, you don't exactly want to put out a blog post saying, oh, here's how you can pwn, hey, all the attackers in the world, here's how you can pwn all these systems, right? There's a process of what's called responsible disclosure, right? So you work with the maintainers and you let them know, hey, I found this, can you fix this, please, right?
Yes, this is how it goes, typically.
And it goes through a platform called HackerOne normally?
No, like I know what you want to talk about. You want to talk about that article in the register, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to give people all the context though.
Okay.
So with the Go team, it doesn't go through HackerOne. It goes through some other reporting mechanism.
So with the Go team, you mean the Go vulnerabilities?
Yeah, Go SDK, like the Go standard library.
The Go standard library, they have their own email, security@golang.org. You send it there. You don't do it through HackerOne. And it's the same actually for Argo CD, You send it to them directly. You don't do it through HackerOne. You're not supposed to do it through HackerOne, I think. So once you contact the maintainers and they fix it, and there is a CVE and a new version, then you go to HackerOne, and then they are supposed to pay you. But
they're supposed to. That sounds promising.
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned it the first time, you kind of blamed Argo CD people. They are completely innocent here. They did nothing wrong. They held up their end of the bargain. If anything, they actually didn't get paid because they also get 20% of the bounty,
Oh.
So it was the HackerOne people that ignored the researchers for 9 months, I think. Like you could be you reported some vulnerabilities and they were fixed. And then you basically just contact them, hey, this has been fixed, you should pay us. And they ghosted us for 9 months. And I know a few friends who are also in the business, so they experienced the same thing, They were also ghosted. And the way it happened is I just wrote at some forum online, like, hey guys, HackerOne is not responding to me. Do you know what's going on? And then Jessica from the register contacted me. It was not like I went to her, She wanted to make this story, and then she contacted me, and we talked a bit, and then she made that. And once she published that article, actually before she published that article, once she started to ask questions to HackerOne, they immediately started responding to people, like even to me, they were like, oh, we are looking in your report, blah, blah, blah. And then I know my friends, they also got responses, because it's a bit disheartening. I mean, a lot of this stuff is very boring and mundane. And, oftentimes, more often than not, you try to find a security problem and you will not find one, okay? So you waste a lot of hours, dozens of hours. So then if you manage to find something and then you manage to convince the maintainers that something is a problem and then they fix it and then they release the CV and then you go and you try to get paid, get at least a bit of money for it, right? Like it is probably not worth it time-wise, but when you get ignored, it really makes you want to stop doing it. So it was, I don't think it was good for the ecosystem, but I also understand why they do it. Like, what ends up happening nowadays? People get ChatGPT or whatever, and they try to audit like security code and find all kinds of outrageous.
I was just about to say that I see so many from the other side. I see so many maintainers like on Twitter and whatever say, oh, I'm getting all these slop reports that make no sense and they don't even compile, but they're very long. I saw that the curl maintainer, for example, they don't accept external security reports anymore because it's all just AI. So there's something in the incentives there. I think you're perfectly positioned in, like, you have a day job that's not security, and then your research is like pure. But if I were like, if to put money on my table, I had to submit successful HackerOne requests. You know what I mean? That sort of skews my incentive from finding vulnerabilities to finding as many vulnerabilities as possible that could be easily verifiable and not necessarily the like most highest important ones or the most interesting ones or the ones that even use tools that I use.
Well, it takes a lot of time to validate that something is a vulnerability. It's kind of an asymmetric process. It's very easy for someone to produce 100 reports, but it might take 1 to 5 hours to validate something is a problem, right? Sometimes you are immediately able to see, okay, this is bullshit, but oftentimes you are not. And I don't know how to solve this problem. I have seen some suggestions that said that you should pay for every report as a reporter, okay? You should pay, like, let's say, $100.
Oh.
And then, like, if it's a valid report, you get the money back and the bounty, right? Or even if it was not a valid report, but like it was sent.
It was a legitimate attempt.
Yes. And if someone is sending slop, okay, make them pay for all the 1,000 reports they send and make money from it, Like maybe that would be a way of like reducing it, because you still need to, those LLMs, they are just tools. You still need to be able to guide them and make them do the right thing.
Interesting. So basically, for our American listeners, you're suggesting a Costco membership card experience for HackerOne. You have to like get a HackerOne membership in. Honestly, I think it's. I know I'm joking, but I think it's a really good idea, because the moment you like, oh, it cost me like 20 cents in tokens to generate this report versus, okay, to submit it, you have to like put in like $10 and you don't get it back if it's marked as a slop. That could solve it. But on the other hand, it kind of, it's a very difficult problem, I guess, to manage. I guess we're not thinking about all angles of it.
I mean, it would work for me. I would get more attention, like I'm fine. my reports are mostly high signal. So like I would be fine. Because the response times really got bad. Like if I compare it from 2 years ago, like I know, for example, Argo CD people are drowning in reports and they don't have time to respond. I have like 10 or 11 open for like almost a year now, I think, and they were not able to. And I think that is a cool learning for people, because they think once a vulnerability is discovered and reported, they get fixed fast. Okay? That is not always the case. There might be reports that are open for 1 year or more in popular software, but the maintainers don't have time to fix them, So if you are dealing with very sophisticated groups, they might be able to find 0 days that are out there, and most software is unsafe. I mean, even the standard library of Go, for example, you can find still till this day problems, right? So
yeah, makes sense. Well, I want to thank you for trying, like most of us don't, and finding some of these bugs. It's been fascinating hearing about this and about fuzzing, and I'd love to talk to you more about fuzzing and all of it. It's all quite fascinating. I think I could talk to you about it for hours if we had the time, but we don't. So I guess I want to move on to: is there anything you'd like our audience to know about? Do you have a blog you'd like to promote? Is your company hiring? Anything you want to plug?
Not really. I don't have anything. I don't have a blog. I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook. I don't have none of that. I have a GitHub if you want to follow me. And
link in the show notes. Man, you just said I don't have Twitter. I don't have that. I was starting to get jealous. I think I need to reconsider some of my life choices.
Yeah, and for those of you that you think open source is hard and security is hard, just try it. Okay, you might be surprised.
Good advice. I like to encourage people to participate with that stuff too. Finally, I mentioned this before we started recording, but we have a question we ask all of our guests, and I don't know if this is going to be an easy one for you or not, but I liked the answer you hinted at anyway. Do you have a favorite third-party library or tool that you like to use when you're doing Go development?
So it's a great question, and I have a really dumb answer because I don't actually have any favorite third-party library. I'm a standard library guy. I mean, most of what I need is in standard library. I don't really import, all that weird stuff. So, no, not really. Do you have one? Like, what's your favorite?
Oh, wow.
You already answered, by the way, so it would be very interesting to see if you're consistent. Because when we chose this question, Jonathan, you picked one.
Did I? I don't remember what I picked. It probably depends on the day of the week, like what I'm doing at the moment, what I like. I have several that I like, depending on what I'm doing. From database drivers. So that would be one. Like if you ever use a SQL database, you have to use a third party tool because there aren't any drivers in the standard library. And I like PGX for that if I'm using Postgres. But yeah, I don't know.
I think I said SQL C, and then you were like, "You're wrong."
Yeah, I don't like SQL C.
But I realized maybe I like DBMate very much as well. It's the migration. It's like the simplest migration tool that exists.
It probably isn't because I couldn't find one simple enough, so I wrote my own.
But man, no social media and only standard library. You're like the most zen software developer I've heard of, man. But how can you do only standard library if you're using YAML? Because there's no YAML parsing in the standard library.
It's a sore spot for Shy.
I don't like it.
I don't know if you know, but I submitted like a huge ticket and I talked about it on the podcast. Oh, I'm going to be the one that introduces YAML to the standard library. And then Russ Cox just rejected me. I was heartbroken.
Oh, that's a badge of honor, right?
Yeah. Just try, like you said. Just try.
Just try.
Next time. Well, I sort of want to ask you what you're researching right now that might come out this week, but I'll just keep my nose to the Go release notes, and I'll see if we see your name again. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
Okay, awesome. This is pretty cool, and well, maybe if I get more vulnerabilities, you can invite me again, and then I can talk about some specific topic. Okay, how I found.
Of course, we would love that.
And next time we'll say your name correctly too.
We'll try. But if this gives you more incentive to find more vulnerabilities in the Go programming language, that's great for us because it's important to know that other than all the fun parts of it and the exciting whatever, this is really important work that is useful for everybody. To me, it feels like when you see someone walking down the street and they pick up like a piece of trash that they didn't throw there and suddenly the street looks much better, and or people who put their cards back in the shopping center, even though they don't have to, they can just leave it in the parking lot. Like it's really being a good citizen of open source and the programming community, like investing time into finding security vulnerabilities instead of just hanging out and using it. So, beyond all the fun and all the interesting parts of it, I just really want to thank you for this work because I think it's helpful for me as a Go user.
Okay, thank you. That's so nice of you. I mean, I would do it anyway because it's fun and I like this element of creative destruction. But I like the way you described it, picking up trash. Yeah, it's good, I guess. It's good. But it's
especially in a garbage collected language.
Yeah.
Hey, where's the sound effect panel I need?
No. Okay, let's finish the interview now. Thanks, Jakub. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.